We're gonna talk more about VBA editor coming up right now. Okay, so if in case you haven't gone ahead and checked out the introduction, the first part of the video, which contains the table of contents and everything, please do have a look at it. This is the second video in the series that we have, and feel free to subscribe because we have complete automation things that I'm gonna go ahead and tell you all how do we go ahead with Excel automation and earn out of it and use it in your day-to-day life. So this particular course is going to be focused more on VBA editor. So what is a VBA editor? It's just a place where you will be able to write all your codes, and we go ahead further. So starting with a presentation, and then I'll go ahead and take you to the Excel part of it and explain you further on this. Okay, so the VBA editor. So there are two ways that you can go to this VBA editor, and each of the MS Office programs have their own editors, and they can have their own codes to proceed with it. So in a nutshell, this is how it will look, and generally as soon as you open it, you will not be able to view many things, which I'll just show you now. So let me just go to an Excel sheet. So just got it open here, and you can see there is nothing like a VBA editor. Here you can either press Alt plus F11 to go there. So that's what I'm going to do now. So you can see these are things generally. If you have created something, you will have something like this. If you haven't, I'll just remove it and I'll show you how it will be. So as soon as you open it, this is how the look eventually will be. So there's another way to go ahead and create a video is if you click on the view menu, go to the macros and click on view macros if you already have macros in them, or if you want to create macros also you can click on this. I'll talk about this record macro when we look at the first VBA code. That's like writing your first VBA. That's your next session. So by clicking on it, let's say if you have macros, eventually it'll be listed down here, and if you want to create one, you can just go ahead and type a name, test 1 perhaps, and create. Okay, and as soon as you do, it'll allow you to get this sort of an information. So you can, before going to each of these things, let me go back to the presentation, and then we'll look out what are the names of this. So this one is the project window, and this one is the properties window, and this is where you will write all your codings and everything, and the immediate window and the watch window. So you can probably see here the immediate window and the watch window is not here. That's because it's used only for debugging purposes, perhaps, and if you want to go ahead and look at a variable and various other things, you can use those too. So we'll look at and have a sort of a snapshot on what these are shortly. Okay, so moving on to the next slide, and we'll start with the project window. So I'll allow you to probably read it, like pausing the video and everything, but then that's not why I'm here eventually, isn't it? So this is the place where you will see all your modules and your codes and everything. So for example, you can see all the sheets here. Sometimes the sheets might be hidden. There are ways you can hide your sheet without even when you right click it, where you can unhide sheets, where it'll show up here. There are ways you can unhide it, hide it here as well. It'll not come in the list. But how do we know how many sheets are there in there? This is where we know. So we have like 3 sheets here. Just think about a place where when you right click it and you don't get unhide for some reason, and there's nothing shows up. And how do we so you will be under an assumption that there's only 3 sheets, but there is a code called very hidden. We'll talk about that one a little later, which will hide the sheet at the background. It's not a normal hidden, but you can see the list of Excel sheets in there, and like you can have any number of modules in here. Generally you don't use it more than 20. If you do, you would probably need to go ahead and rename and all these things. But like, how do you rename is like, if you change this, it'll change off, and so that's where the property windows comes in. And this is another place where you will be able to see a user form. Let's say you have a user form, it'll come back here, and let's say you have a class module, you'll be able to get it here. A class module is nothing but it's a predefined properties that you can set it up, and you can use and reuse it in your program, and as well as your formulas as and when you want. So that's the whole concept. So module, as I mentioned, that's a place where you'll be coding it, and user form is used for having a good input. This is something we have an exclusive class on there, so which I will explain it very soon. So that's the thing of it, and we'll go to the slide back again. So let's go to the properties window. So here it says, like, you can see that anything that you have highlighted. So when I highlighted the user form, you can see the properties are coming up so much, and when I click on the module, the properties change. That's because each of these have a different property. For example, let's say you wanted to go ahead and had so let me just see if I can the toolbox. Okay, here we go, the toolbox, and let's say you type something here, for example, and you can see the text box properties is coming up. So that's the use of that property, and that's what is mentioned here. And the next thing, the coding area, that's, as I mentioned, that's where you will write your code. There's a sample code which was mentioned here, and generally a code starts with a sub statement and then it ends up with a general sub. We'll see all these things in the next video, which will take it through a limited amount of syntax. You may not need to know every single thing right away, just to start off with, and we can go ahead further from there. So then the next thing is the immediate window. So it's like, here it says this is a piece of paper. It's like, you can look at when you're executing a code, and if you want to see a value while it executes, and you pause it somewhere, and you can use this immediate window. Good amount of use is there for this immediate window. The next thing is the watch and watch window. This is pretty much like a variable as to what things are coming up inside. So you can see the watch window shows you all the data that is stored inside a variable, and so on. So at this moment we are just looking at an overview of what is the VBA editor and everything. But so coming back to the place where why do we need to even go to writing a macro when you have all your power in here? Two things. One is flexibility and reuse. So two things are very useful and everything. So that's where it is. So now let's say let's say if we can add a use the record macro. We'll just for introductory purpose, we'll just see what to do. So when you click on the record macro, it can be stored in this workbook or personal macro and new workbook and everything. Generally go with this workbook. Personal macro is a place where if you want that macro to be available for all the all the Excel that you open, you can use it there, and new workbook is perhaps on a new one, and the this workbook is currently on this. So I'm just going to leave this as test record, something like that, and let's say we say okay. And let's say we are trying to so right now I've just covered this thing, right? And if I'm going ahead and color it, so it'll just go in color, and you can see that the macro is still recording where it says currently recording. You can click stop here, or you can go to macro and stop recording. So, and now as I said, please click alt plus F11 and double click the module, and you can see the this one was the first thing which we have created. So this is what it is. So the first thing what we did was we selected this particular row F2, and with the selection this got selected. This is an underlying code, which means that you don't have to know every single of them. One of them you can rewrite this code and so on. So for example, let's say if I just delete this, for example, and you wanted to reuse this, okay, let's say you wanted to color this, okay, let me select it, click on view macros, and you can see that macro what we created is here. You can click on run, okay, and if you have access you can delete it, but since we are running it, I'm selecting it, click run, it will just color it. One more easy way to do it is, let's say if you want that and put that on a shortcut, perhaps like Control Q maybe. Now when I press Control Q on this particular cell, this will get colored, again colored. So here I'm just pressing Control Q and it just keeps getting colored, you see. So this is not the only time where you can do this. If you write multiple codes and you want to reuse this again and again, you can do that too. So that's it. That's the thing about the VBA editor. There are lots of things in terms of the menu items, which in this tools and reference, which we'll be using it a lot. We'll come to that a little later because it comes to an intermediate level if you want to do it. Add-ins, again, we'll do this later. And again, we spoke about the immediate window, that's right here. It's down here. So let me close this up. For some reason it's not coming up here. Let's see. Okay, sorry. And that's your immediate window, and we have the watch window here as well. So you can see that these are like overlays that you get it, and we can go ahead with it. So summarizing everything just for your editing, in order for you to go ahead and the main use, eventually coming back to the VBA editor, is for writing all your codes and debugging that code, re-editing and so on. For example, in our code, when it got recorded, I'm just control setting it, these got this used. This one is the last thing. As soon as I entered, I click somewhere, that got recorded. So in our case it was H2. So if you want, you can do small edits like these to get that one. We'll go through these syntax and various other examples very soon. So that's the agenda of what we had now. So there are a few more slides. Let's go back here. We're looking at the code writing area, and then I'll leave a description for this particular slide. If you want, you can go ahead and download it. That's perfectly fine. So all these things, watch window and everything we were going through. So feel free to subscribe and let me know if there are any questions or anything. Drop a line or two in the comment section. Happy to assist, and have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.